Right, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to speak about, I wanted to touch a bit on the subject that the Jack Bowles situation has brought upon us. I don't want to talk about their drama. I don't want to stir up more drama. It's just more about how people handle criticism in general. It's like when it comes to criticism, let's say I critique something. You're supposed to you're supposed to look at the critique, not the person that is behind it. You need to critique a man's criticism, not the fact that he critiques something or someone. Pay attention to what he says, not to what the person is saying. And with that in mind, we might actually have like a nice discussion, because there's been so many times where let's say I criticize a person or a team or something. Someone responds to me, "You're an asshole." Okay, like, how about giving me some feedback on what I said? Maybe share your opinion. Like, what is the point of it? I'm like, okay, sure. On the other hand, I think it is very important that when you choose to criticize someone, you must understand that there will be some kind of consequence to it. Like, there is always some kind of consequence to any type of words if you choose to criticize anyone that is something in the league scene, because they might trigger the loyal fans that kind of follow players and people as if they were religions. And there will always be some type of backlash. And if you cannot handle the backlash, maybe you shouldn't really like criticize people, because it's always going to be a part of any sport. If you criticize Ronaldinho or Messi, people are gonna get mad, people are gonna get sad, people are gonna praise you. It goes either ways. There's always gonna be some kind of backlash, and there's been like plenty of times. I have so many examples where I've been on the analyst desk, like where diehard UL fans or Giants fans just come after me, and sure, it happens, and I've accepted that because I stand behind what I say. And it is like you have to be basically prepared for the backlash. And the biggest issue I see is that people have tendencies to mix emotions into our line of work. It is just like emotions are just obstructing us from what we're trying to accomplish, and that is just having a healthy discussion where we share our opinions, because emotions are simply bad for business. But we are human, and a lot of players are young, so emotions get into the mix in a lot of scenarios. And if we do not understand the concept of how emotions affect what we do, then probably we shouldn't stick to criticizing people. Because usually what happens is, let's say I choose to criticize a water bottle, right? And a fan of this water bottle is going to say, "You're an asshole." And let's say him telling me that I'm an asshole makes me sad, and it stirs up another emotional reaction. And we're just on this path that leads us to nowhere. This emotional path that leads us to nowhere, when in reality we want to discuss this beautiful water bottle. You get me? And I think it's very important. If you cannot understand the grasp of emotion, you should not criticize people, because there's always going to be emotional people that are there to comment on what you say. And the final point I want to bring up is something that has happened to me so many times, especially when I was like in MYM. In Roccat is happening less because we're actually doing something with the team, but it's like the response that I've often received after I've been on the analyst desk or I've critiqued someone is that they have, like, this is basically the response, like, verbatim, I'm quoting, "They have accomplished more than you have no right to speak about them." Which just blows my mind. It's hilarious in a way. It's really funny, because imagine if any sensible person in the world used this argument. Imagine if I did not like, let's say, the United States of America's President Barack Obama's policy on goats. Goats. Let's say there's some kind of legislation about goats. Just as an example, because I'm not too sure about American politics. I don't want to trigger more people regarding that. So let's say there's a policy on goats, and I tweeted about it, and I said, "Barack Obama, I do not like your policy on goats. This is why." And Barack Obama responded to me, let's say he responded to me, and he said, "What have you accomplished in politics? You have accomplished nothing in politics. You're not allowed to speak to me." And like in this context, the entire thing becomes quite ridiculous. You know, if you put it in other context, you can understand that it's very very silly, because just because you critique something or someone does not mean you're supposed to measure yourself with this person. That is not how it works. Because imagine I want feedback on my stream, or maybe this video. I want feedback on this video. Someone tells me this video sucks, and I check him out and I ask him, what kind of videos have you made? And he tells me I've done 0 videos. And suddenly I'm like, dude, you've made 0 videos? Dude, I'm not going to listen to you. It works. It works the exact same way, you know. And that is why it's very important to not to just judge what a person is saying, not focus on the actual man that is saying it. Focus on the criticism. There is where the value lies, because everyone can share a good opinion. And as long as we keep emotions out of it, then we can have a constructive, like beneficial discussion. Finally, you know? So please, hopefully this makes some kind of sense, even though I've talked about Obama and his gold policy. But that's pretty much it. My 2 cents. Thank you very much, huh? Peace.